I know.
Dead,
Dude, so I just picked up this used to be my
race.
favorite shirt going into like the pandemic, and then I ripped it when I became a dad, and I just picked it up and they sewed it, and I'm very happy about it. This is like exactly how I want it.
You look like you're about to go to like a summer lake house in that
It's very comfortable when it's this warm. This is exactly how I want a cold open to look when we return, as it's Dad's Bet Baseball. First, like I'm not even gonna tell you I am, because most importantly, CJ's back. CJ's back.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Slip and Jimmy. I will say you missed an awesome show for the Homerun Derby. It was awesome. We had a full house. None of our 90% of our bets voided before the thing happened, because we had so much. We all agreed, oh yeah, Acuna, and Spencer was awesome. Like Spencer was like super locked in. Producer Spencer was like super locked in.
It's just so funny how you treat when I leave, because I whenever you leave the show, and when I did the solo show, I'm like, really miss Adam for this one. Can't wait to have him back. Rah. Missing my buddy in the saddle here. And then I see the tweets go out. Best show we've ever done. Yeah. Talk about the best guests we've ever had on here. Oh my God, it was amazing. You literally leave this show saying, dude, you basically just missed like the greatest show ever. So
you did. I'm not gonna lie and say, look, first of all, it was a great show.
It wasn't call that out in our relationship podcast.
It wasn't a replaceable show. It was just awesome. First of all, we had 5 snaps to Spencer, who produced the show while he was on it, and we had 5 people on screen, and nobody talked over each other, and everybody let everyone's like jokes and takes and everything like breathe. It was just good. It could have gone very sideways. None of those people had even been on a show together. It was awesome. It went great. We got to do it again. It just stinks that
I was happy I got to listen to it, and I got to listen to it in prime time, because I was 6 hours ahead in Slovenia. So whenever you guys were recording, it was like 8 p.m. and the kids had already gone down. So I was watching this as if it was like a new episode of Big Brother. Like I was ready to go.
Did you 8
p.m. time slot?
How, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much did how Luka crazy are they?
So less crazy than I anticipated. I mean, there's like Lakers jerseys and stuff like you would expect everywhere. I mean, my biggest takeaway going to Slovenia is, why did Luka Dončić ever leave Slovenia? Like, you can, it's beautiful there. You can get to mountains, the beach, and city all within basically an hour. The food's great. People were super nice. And everybody complains about Luka showing up to camp in the fall because he's been in Slovenia all summer and he's just getting out of shape. I'm surprised he just doesn't stay there all year, because I would stay there much longer if I could financially afford it. So that was my biggest takeaway. It's Luka.
I'm sure you're gonna have a Euro edition of Dad Move later of like what to do when you travel with children. I can't believe, dude. Good. First of all, just awesome parenting to like get them to do that experience. So. But I want to hear about that.
Well, it wasn't get them. It was more of a foursome. But they accepted the challenge given to them.
We'll talk about it later.
I'm happy to be back.
You texted me that like you said, yeah, Atlanta just openly decided to quit in the middle of like a hike, which is not an option. And so anyway, all right. So but did you catch? So you got to listen to us talk about the Homerun Derby. Did you get to watch?
Yeah. So
to watch it?
I wanted to give you first my perspective as an outsider in the middle of Europe when the Homerun Derby was going on at 3 a.m., 2 a.m. my time, and the All-Star game for that matter. And then I wanted to actually get your real take on what happened. So the main gist of this was also why I'm wearing a Yankees shirt today, in that the real MVP of the AL plays on this team. Okay. So Cal Raleigh fans, hate to dump on you, but that was the most square winner of the Homerun Derby that I could have woken up to. I literally opened my phone and I go, Cal Raleigh won the Home Run Derby, and Book It with Trent also picked Cal Raleigh to win the Home Run Derby. Like that's my immediate thought when I saw that. So super square from what I could see from the outside. I'm disappointed in my boy James Wood from reading. Also,
he was really uncomfortable. Like Monty,
I think the text thread between Colby, Pete, you and I, and Monty had to have been like 200 texts long when I woke up the next day. So I was that's also trying to like read that novel. And then, I mean, it seems like the swing off at the All-Star game was received very well. I have to honestly go back and just kind of watch like a YouTube clip of Schwarber hitting the 3 bombs. But I don't know. Is this just like me being in the matrix of the Jeff Passons, the Tim Kirkshins, the folks that are like desperate for the All-Star game to be relevant, and it was actually, or was it actually cool?
I mean, ratings were down, so hopefully everybody will talk about it and they'll get ratings up next year, but ratings were down. From people on the ground that I know, they said these balls are very clearly juiced. The first pitch that James Wood took was 482 feet. And look, I get it. I mean, if I was MLB, I would have done things the same way. I'm not going to put on a conspiracy hat for any of that. I thought that the Home Run Derby was incredibly long. It's just for 3-minute rounds. The fact that it took 2.5 hours and you only had 8 guys, I don't know how that worked.
Was it Abreu? There was one I know, I think it was like in Detroit or San Francisco where it went like almost like till midnight. I think that was like 2006, 2007.
Yeah. It took forever. And it went for a while. And obviously, like, you know, most of my bets were killed the first round. We that Caminero long shot, but he just kind of ran out of gas. It was fine. I didn't watch the All-Star game. I watched the first inning because I like Skubal and I like watching Skeens pitch. But you know, and I like watching Detroit Tigers strike out, even though I do like that team. But yeah, it was solid. I honestly, to be completely fair, I've kind of enjoyed the last couple of days of not paying as much attention to baseball and looking a little bit more like baseball fans. It was pretty well received, and it seems as though no one knew that there was going to be a swing off. There also bettors were kind of freaking out of like, well, why was this a push and this was this and this could have been this way.
Yeah, I wonder how the rules would work with that. Like, is it just considered a regular overtime rules, or is it did most of those bets void once it went to the swing?
They regraded it to a win. For folks, which is fine. I had one account that I'm with that I've been down on the last few weeks, and I said, hey, so this was graded as a push. Can you grade this as a win because everyone else did? And he said, if this was a win, would you ask me to regrade it as a loss? And I'm like, no, because of course not. And he said, all right, I respect that was your answer. And so he did regrade it. He was a bookie with a kind heart. So yeah, it was fine. I think I really mostly kind of focused on, I had some good WNBA runs and then getting myself ready for second half. I'd already made one bet after watching the Home Run Derby, and that was the Mariners to not make the playoffs. I used a boost on
I saw that immediately, which that also goes into my perception that it was a very square winner with Ross.
I mean, if you don't think
that's like the first bet you immediately make if you believe in the Home Run Derby kind of juju.
Yeah, and also if you don't think Cal Rowley's going to get walked before, he's definitely going to get walked now. So he just showed everybody, if there's somebody still left who doesn't realize his power potential, that is what happens. And so I just I took that fade. I took that.
So one thing that with the Mariners is, because it got me thinking, because I'm with you. I started pivoting. This was, I mean, it was great, obviously, being on vacation. That's, by the way, if you're very serious about betting baseball and you're looking for a good week in the middle of the season to go take vacation, All-Star break, fantastic week to do that. And you also can kind of just prep yourself for the second half of the season. And you mentioned the Mariners, not a team that I thought of at all, and still don't think at all as one that is going to be in my World Series frame of mind in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. But I did text you this week to ask, finally, are we ready to open the Pandora's box of World Series Exacta markets.
Yes.
And
I think we are.
I think it's time. I think we're
ready.
It
is time. We talk about everything but, and this is definitely the time to do it. So for folks that are maybe they just only look at things in terms of outrights, can you tell everybody, because I know my answer to this, but why are exactas a unique and better way you think to play MLB ceiling markets?
So I mean, and this is not just unique for baseball. So I'll like, when it comes to NFL and college football is actually very good for exactas as well. If you guys aren't familiar though, for any of the folks that really aren't betting a lot of these types of futures, you can bet there's two different types of exact outcomes you can bet on the World Series. So the more common one that I've seen is you bet the team that is going to win the World Series, and you bet the team that you think they will beat in the World Series. And we can get into a little bit on where it may make sense to bet that market. Pretty much you're going to see that at every major recreational book. The other market, though, that you and I like to talk about more, and I'm just pulling this up here on my BetMGM account, which you don't have access to on your
I don't have access to, and I had you do a college football bet for me that got limited last night.
Which still got limited on my end. But so there is a market you can bet for just naming the finalists. So that's basically tell me the exact matchup in the World Series. And what you're going to find is the prices that you will get for these fairly likely, or at least probabilistically higher outcomes, big difference in what you'd be paying for. So for example, if we look at the Tigers and the Dodgers, and we're going to, I think, focus a little more on the Tigers, and we'll explain why, but look at the Dodgers markets, and specifically with the Tigers. BetMGM, that's plus 675 for that World Series matchup. So you're just taking the best team in the AL and the best team in the NL, plus 675 for that.
Just for chalk. For a chalk fight, you get
just a chalk final.
Yep.
If you were on BetMGM to take the Dodgers to win the World Series right now, you are getting it plus 220. So alone, even if you take one of the, Dodgers and what would the other team? I guess in the AL, the other chalk ones would be the Yankees and the Astros, right? So Astros, Dodgers, you're going to get 10-1. And for the Yankees, Dodgers, you're going to get plus 850. So even if you just split, if you were extremely confident that the Dodgers will win the World Series, you are better off holding liability in probably 3 of those finalist outcomes and just splitting up your unit size than you are to go full bore on Dodgers plus 220.
Yep. I mean, and if you look at, the Dodgers are even money, basically a little bit over even money to win the NL pennant. It's important to note that generally speaking, the NL gets a little more crazy. The AL generally tends to get chalky. But I guess, so this kind of goes back to a thing that we may have mentioned on a previous show. I can't remember if we did it outright, but so if you are looking at this, I know for what I'm doing, I feel like it's turned into like me interviewing you, which is fine. I have been
gone.
Well, who are the teams? Yeah, exactly. Who are the teams? So who are the teams that you think we should even be talking about, and who are teams that we should cross off? Or do you not even want to play it that way? Because for me, I think that I think that there was a lot. We've done a lot of like exactas within to reach the LCS. Like some of the long shots, I think, are a little bit better in that market than they are here, because like you and I are both high on the Reds. We have Reds Dodgers, I think, at a bonkers number, something like for the LCS, something like 90-1, and that is to me a lot more appealing to have in pocket than. Better hope that this long shot gets all the way over there. And I think that what we're basically dancing around is that this is a really good market to play for the top of the top of the bracket. For like
Well,
tops
and
of the bracket, this is like a really good way to do this.
You see so many more of these like burnouts in terms of like you can have again. I mean, the Mets obviously last year we've talked about it several times on this show. That was a bet that we made. It actually really right around now for the Mets to make the LCS. I think we got them at 16-1
Oh, it was
for
great.
them to
It
do
was
that
such
last
a great
year.
bet.
So I think you need to eliminate the recency bias with like the Diamondbacks making the World Series, because also that was extremely fluky in some sense. Like probably the more likely.
We could do an entire episode on that because it started to look like that was a fluke.
Yes. So we still fell for it in the offseason because we had Diamondbacks.
Well, you know what? Hold on, not to get us off topic, but there is, and I'm not going to throw a person under the bus, but I was very much convinced from talking to somebody. I didn't. My initial take on the D-backs was, I don't want to take this team, and then I came to you. I'm like, actually, I decided after I talked to this person that I do want to take this team, and I realized I'm smarter than this person, so I'm just never going to listen to them again. But that's just kind of my whole entire bit on all betting. Anyway, keep going.
It's like I just watched Gladiator 2.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
I don't know if you've seen that film, but there's it's like you were just kind of Denzel'd. You talk to somebody. It's yep. All right. I actually believe that you are the person to listen to when he was going to stab you in the back. But
yes.
Okay. Well, let's go back though to the teams we realistically think are like those top, again, just to kind of state those top tier teams. So you've got in the AL, Tigers, Yankees. Do we throw the Blue Jays into that bucket, even though we have liability on them already?
It's really hard to do that because it's more that they are equipped for a run versus I think that they're the best team in the AL. Those are two different things to me. I think the Tigers are the best team in the AL. I think the Jays are equipped for a playoff run. And the reason why I think they're equipped for a playoff run has everything to do with the fact that they will have arguably the Shreeds, Canadian native John Shreeds is because I think that their 3-man rotation in the playoffs, which apparently will not include Bowden Francis, is one of the better ones that they would be able to throw.
As it shouldn't.
That's okay. Well,
so
my 250 to 1K leader ticket agrees with you. So
AL, I think we both agree it's probably Tigers or bust right now in the AL.
Yeah, and it's well earned.
In the NL, we had an episode a few weeks ago that's still fairly evergreen on talking why Detroit should be considered probably even maybe a shorter favorite than they are.
Fox Sports, by the way, would like for you to believe that they are still a surprising team. They have the best record in baseball since August 1st last year, tied with only one other team, the Dodgers. They have 94 wins since August 1st.
And they have the best pitcher in baseball. And
they're the best pitcher in baseball, regardless of what he did in the All-Star game. Yeah.
Again, it's All-Star game. Who really cares? So the NL, we've got Dodgers, the NL East teams, which thankfully we don't have to ever say the Braves on this podcast again, because they are.
They've actually admitted they are selling, so we're good.
So they're done. So your NL East teams of the Mets and the Phillies, and then the Cubs. Not throwing the Brewers in there. I'm not throwing any of the other wild cards in there. Those are your 4 teams that we think realistic. So taking that list, right? So we've got your 4 teams in the NL, most likely the Dodgers, and your team in the AL is the Tigers. And then we start trying to look at some of the exactas for who is facing the Tigers specifically. Again, if you really believe, by the way, that it's Yankees over Tigers, then go do this exercise looking at those prices. You can do the exact same thing we're about to do with the Tigers. You can just do it with the Yankees, or the Astros for that matter. But by
the way, it is worth noting how close the odds are between the Astros and the Yankees, and I don't think that that's correct. But we can talk about that later.
So when we started looking at, and these, by the way, the finalists, at least right now, you can bet this on MGM and you can bet this on FanDuel. The odds between the two little bit different, but there is one thing we noticed that was fairly correlated when you were picking the NL winner against the Tigers, and that you might actually be able to glean something from that. And you and I were texting literally right before the show about this. So maybe this is a good time to let you jump on your soapbox here and kind of tell people what you found.
So as I'm doing that, I'm just I just am looking at DK has the exact result of these things. Which actually I kind of want to bet, but we'll talk about it another time. So the big thing that I noticed is the fact that yes, they are a couple games ahead of them, but the Phillies are really being priced here like they are closer to the Dodgers team than they are to the Mets. And this Mets team did not have a problem getting at least recreational liability on World Series. They signed arguably a top 3 player in baseball. They had a gigantic offseason in that sense in terms of spending. They had a run to the NLCS last year. I came up short. So it's not hard to get people to bet them for the World Series. But what I've noticed is that there is what I would call a pretty substantial gap between how them and the Cubs are priced against the Tigers and the Yankees, and how the Phillies are priced against the Tigers. The Phillies are priced a few dollars less. And not only that, but they're priced in this weird non-attractive number zone. I kind of call it a poison number. So like poison numbers are effectively, when you go to like Best Buy, I don't know if anybody goes to Best Buy anymore, but if you were to go to Best Buy and buy a TV, let's say Target, everyone goes to Target.
If you go to live Target in the city, you can still go to Best Buy. That's still not a bad place to go.
I just don't know. I don't know. It's such a dad move. But if you go to Best Buy and you see a TV that's 50 inches next to the TV that is 48 inches, those are purposely put there so that you can say, oh, well, this TV is like, look how much bigger this TV is. And it isn't, because actually those things are done by diagonal. It's not that much bigger. The space doesn't really change anything, but you're paying a little bit extra. So that is sort of what happens when you get very clean numbers. Usually around the third longest is sort of meant to be, hey, come here and get me. I think I have the FanDuel ones in front of me, and there's just such a jump with what is like effectively a clean Mets league winner total. Like, so the Mets are 6-1, and they're sitting there next to the Phillies at plus 480. Which is just a number that if you were to look at it, it's like, well, that's not really interesting to me at all. That's not even 5-1. Well, how am I supposed to tell my friends that I took something that was more than 4-1, but it wasn't even 5-1? Probably because it's a little bit closer to the truer odds than that. And then the Mets are right next to them, tied with the Cubs at 6-1. And I get that this is probably assuming, okay, they're a wild card, they get an extra round. But I really do think if you're kind of reading some of the tea leaves, I just think that I think that some of this is liability. Some of this is just market dynamics. I think the Phillies are a lot more live on this NL. And I think the expectation is probably that the Phillies are going to make kind of a splashier move that really pushes over. I've been hearing that a lot from everything that I'm reading anyway. And I think it might be buy time, or believe time, because it wasn't buy time when they're 4-1, but what I'm seeing, like looking even at the Tigers versus Phillies, it's priced under 20-1. So it's not an attractive number. It's right next to it. Mets versus Tigers is 20-1. So it's I think that the gap between the Phillies and the Mets might be further. Phillies might be closer to the Dodgers than they are to the Mets, is really what I'm getting at.
So can I tell you also that I don't think this is just a market thing, that I think that if you go, you've been watching baseball for a long time and you've watched a lot of playoffs. You know that the two most important things are your starting pitching and your bullpen, and how healthy and fresh is that bullpen coming into the postseason. The Philadelphia Phillies right now are pretty like miles ahead, honestly, in a starting pitching sense than the rest of the league, even if it may not feel that way. So if you look at their season WAR totals from starting pitching alone, 13.1, whereas the Mets 7.4. Okay. If you go from June 1st,
also that's without Nola. That's mostly without Aaron
Nola, right? So it's really Wheeler, Sanchez, and future Baltimore Oriole, Ranger Suarez.
Yeah. Future Baltimore, Tyler O'Neill.
And it's not just a, April, May statistic, because from June 1st, Philadelphia leads the league in starting pitching WAR at 5.8, whereas the Mets are down at 19th, which that correlates. Like, that also jives with what we've been watching from the games. The Mets starting pitching, sure. I don't think they're as bad as 1.9 and 19th, but I don't think they were as good as where they were in the first 2 months of the year. So the first kind of big observation from that is it's the starting pitching, and also their relief pitching, which was much maligned at the beginning of the year. They're still league average. They're 15th in relief pitching in terms of just looking at WAR between all of the other teams. And as you said, if they go and make a big deadline acquisition for some relief pitching, that helps. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I think it's very interesting that the Cubs are being priced around the same price as the Mets, even though their path, in my opinion, to winning the division is much easier than the Mets winning the division, and the fact that the Cubs still have a pretty good chance to get a bye into that divisional series. And yet those exact prices, if you go and look at the Tigers v. Cubs, Tigers-Cubs is 20-1, Tigers-Mets is 20-1 on MGM.
The Cubs would
so
also,
market is basically implying that the Mets are probably a better team right now than the Cubs, even though they're second in the division, is how I'm reading that.
Yeah, I mean, if the playoffs started today, the Mets would play the Padres, and then the Cubs would play the Brewers. And a reminder, all the games would be in Chicago, all the games would be in New York. And the Cubs, the Cubs are priced to run. And I don't know. The thing is also about the Mets, and then we can kind of move over to a couple other segments. But the thing is about the Mets, everyone said, "Oh, June swoon, whatever." Everyone has a June swoon. I was looking at this last night. They have still finished before the All-Star break 6-4 in their last 10.
Yeah, including wins over the Brewers and the Yankees and the Royals. They had 3 series.
They were also only in their last 20. They were only a couple games under 500. The issue was that in their last 30, they're 11-19. That's what the issue is. So I think a lot of that June swoon was earlier in the month kind of thing that people are freaking out about. I do think that team will be fine, but everything that I'm seeing in the terms of the big picture on this is that I think that I've pushed out that rumor that I want them to trade Ranger Suarez. I don't think it's going to happen. It seems to anger Phillies fans. But I think Phillies are very prepared to make a splash move that looks like it's going to propel them a little bit more forward than we are used to. So yeah, I think, I think Phillies Tigers, and I'll still take it at 19-1. And I'll still take Phillies Yankees at 25-1. But again, a lot of these
Phillies are plus 475 to win the National League. Again, I'm quoting, you might be able to get a 5-1 somewhere. This is just bet
maybe.
But
Yeah.
Plus 475. And then to win the World Series, they're still under 10-1. They're 8-1. So, you're getting almost 20-1. So 19-1, basically, I think you said on FanDuel, to get that as that exact outcome. And if you want to do, you want to get a little bit less chalky, but you want to do, for example, Astros and Phillies, 25-1, Yankees, Phillies. Let me do that. And then I want to talk a little
Yankees,
bit.
Phillies
I want to walk over to the next segment, but 22-1 on MGM. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the whole point of this exercise is to show you that think of the teams that if you really like a team to win the World Series, you're much better to kind of poke around and see where market likes some of these teams more than others. In this case, it would be the Phillies. And yeah, you're getting kind of a longer price for something that probabilistically they're still saying is under 10-1 for them to win the entire thing. And that includes obviously beating the Dodgers. So want to kind of put a bow on that, because another thing we wanted to go into today was, we don't have any games to bet today, which is probably a good thing for our marriages. Now that we've got
my wife is like, you're like so much more present this week.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's like
I don't know.
I come off vacation. I'm still not on my phone. My wife's like,
I know.
I'm like, I'm a changed man until Friday. But the market you and I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive into today was talking about walks and walks allowed. This is one that you can get on most different books, and I want to kind of walk you guys through how you can be able to use something like Hall of Fame bets, and then in addition to that, kind of narrow down some of those different walks. And I want to see how my process, because usually we go to you for this, where we'll say you kind of just do the driving, but now I want to kind of show you
drive. And I see
what it's like with
Shreeds,
me
by the way, is a noted walk enthusiast. He and I have been kind of side labbing on it. Really good time to pause also and just say Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com. They have a brand new desktop app that we're going to show you. Use code DADS. They have all the sports in there, just so you know. They also have soccer. So if you want to mess around, you can totally do that. But we kind of power use to the extreme. A lot of different parts of their baseball, and I laugh because every day I'm in it, I find something new about it. So today we're going to show, okay, well, what's like the best way that we can do walks, because that has been a good market. And one of the things that I like about betting walks also right now is all these pitchers are starting to get higher pitch counts. Not every team has the same K rate as the teams that you can consistently fade are going to always be the Rockies team. This Giants team, by the way, strikes out like crazy. This Braves team strikes out like crazy. But overall, you can see it on Handigraphs. I see Eli talking about just so you know, the data is not completely updated for Handigraphs, but a solid chunk of the league, a less of the league is striking out now. Last 2 weeks than they were 3 weeks ago. So anyway, point is, walks is a lot of fun because you can either bet it as individual batters, which Shreeds and I love to do, or team walks or pitcher walks. I love it, and I'm using Handigraphs. I'm using Hall of Fame bets for it all the time. But CJ, I'll let you kind of drive and show everybody who's on here, like, how do we use Hall of Fame bets to cap?
Yeah, so let's look at more so the pitcher walks also, because let's look at the pitcher walks, and I agree, Shreeds. Betting on guys being bad is always fun to bet.
It's so good. It's so much more fun than it's like a better version of an under. It's great.
Yes. So I'm here on Hall of Fame Bets. What you'll do if you're on the web version, if you go into the mobile version, you go to leaders, just go to teams, and then you're going to pick that stat here you're going to look at for batting team walks. Okay. So you go to batting team walks, and then we want to look and see which teams are walking a lot, in the last, first up, overall, who walks the most. Here's your top 5 list of teams, most disciplined.
Yep.
It's funny you say, by the way, the Giants strike out a lot. They also walk a lot, at least.
Well, for the season, but if you look at the last 10.
So let's look at last.
Yeah. I usually do last 10.
So kind of in there. So let's look at, so last 10 is also where I kind of, I do want to always start with season just to see okay, is this somewhat close to what they're normally doing? And if there's a huge outlier, then that might be something to call out. But so here's your teams, right? So you've got the Tigers, D-backs, right? D-backs, Phillies, they were both on that list. Tigers were on that list. So right away, I'm looking at, all right, well, who are the pitchers that are going to be facing each of these teams in the next couple of days? So you've got, Tigers are playing the Rangers. You've got the Phillies playing the Angels, and you have. Hey
CJ, wait, can I push you towards one that I just noticed as a really good matchup to highlight?
Sure.
The Angels and the Phillies are playing each other.
Yes, they are right here.
So this is a good one to look at. This is a really good one to look at for this market.
So you can kind of look here's their different hit rates and stuff on and then another thing that you can do, like when you go into the teams, if you want to just look at that, you can see like Angels pitching really, really bad. 20th percentile for walks allowed in that sense. So you've got a team that takes a lot of walks, and you've got a team that typically gives up a lot of walks. So then what you and I will typically do is go into Handigraphs at this point. Now I've identified my team, and I want to now look at the starting pitchers for the Angels in the next couple of days. Again, this is last weekend's data, so this is Saturday and Sunday's game. So if you want to look at Hall of Fame Bets, I believe does have the lineups. I think, not lineups, but at least they have.
It's not on our site yet, but it's on Hall of Fame Bets. But it's an incredibly good matchup. The Angels have an instant starter, but it's Luzardo for the Phillies. So
okay,
anyway.
So let's play this though. If they were facing Kikuchi or Soriano for that sense, right? So you go in Handigraphs, and then what I like to do is I like to first just see like last 5, and then I want to look at walk rates for each of those pitchers. You can see Soriano, 12.7%. So he's actually up, which is still not great, 11.3 by the way for the year, but he's up to 12.7 in his last 5 starts. And then they're playing this one. They're at home. So I personally like to look at what is the road splits as well for each of those starting pitchers.
I do too.
Kikuchi, worse on the roads when it comes to walks. Soriano does look like he has a little bit of a better walk rate when it comes to that. But then if I look at like his last 3 road starts. Okay, still kind of a little bit consistent. So that I would note that. Doesn't really change the fact that I'd probably still want to bet a Phil to walk against them. So you'll come back into here, and then you can just obviously go and look at, if I go in to look at stats, I can just see Jose Soriano, and we can start to look at like pitcher walks. Bam. 9 out of their last 10. Soriano's had at least 2 walks. So we don't have a line because he's not, I think, pitching tomorrow. But
they don't know who's pitching tomorrow, but like we could even, Lazard, like we could do it around the idea of Lazard. Lazardo's up on their site if you want to go to do it to the other side. Because one of the markets that you can use for this, DraftKings has total walks in the game, which is like one of the ways that I do this as well. Luzardo's got a 1.6 whip, and he just and he's kind of loves to walk guys. So like the Philly side I know is a great matchup here. It is extremely hot, and as I'm looking on my side of this, it
looks like the Angels don't really walk a ton. So that's the only thing I would point out there. 27th, and I would go to just Handigraphs to look at that. But
I would probably though still target Joe Adele individually for a walk.
Yeah. So, and that's a good call out too, is that when you look at things like this, where you're like, okay, so like you said, Luzardo walks a lot of guys. Whip rate has been a lot higher more recently. If you're looking at that team walk rate, you actually in this case, this actually might be a better opportunity to find a batter walk rather than pitcher walks allowed. Like that to me is like almost like a dead giveaway of team has a low walk rate, but this pitcher gives up a high walk rate. Somebody on that team is walking, and they're likely not.
I think it's going to be Joe Adele.
So you could go over to like Joe Adele. And what is his walk rate?
Look at his last 30 versus lefties.
Oh, here we go. That's what I want to look at.
Look at it. It's astronomical. It's like an elite
16.7%.
Yeah. That's a good one. I think that would be a play. And like Hall of Fame Bets allows you to basically make the decision of like, we don't want the team. We know we want a player.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good way where you can kind of like use the stats bar up here and just start searching players. I like it because it also just gives you it doesn't just show you, like, what's cool about this is that it doesn't show you only the players that are playing and their prop lines for that day. You can literally just go and use this whenever to go and do some different research. So hasn't been walking a ton here, but versus left-handed pitching. I mean, yeah, definitely better hit rates. A little bit, actually, not as much as I thought, but it's
He had some pockets, and then it was July 4th.
Some good pockets here.
He had some good pockets, and then he went against. It looks like he effectively went. Here's the thing: is that it looks like he went against It looks like he went against pitchers that do not walk, but when he went against pitchers that do give up walks, he got him.
He walked.
Yeah.
So you can, kind of filter it down from there. But I don't know, man. Anything you want to add to that? Like, I think just the concept of if you've got a team that takes a lot of walks and a pitcher that allows a lot of walks, my general rule of thumb would then be go bet pitcher walks as your market. If you've got a team that doesn't walk a lot, but a pitcher that does walk a lot, go bet a batter walk. You're probably going to get more value there.
I think it's just a general thing that I like about how Hall of Fame Bets works really well with handy graphs is that Hall of Fame Bets does a really good job of giving you a 30,000 foot view on specific markets that nobody else is giving you a 30,000 foot view on. Total bases, total walks, team strikeouts. And so that's really, it's like team health metrics, which when they do that, which is great. Like our handy graphs, obviously, and all these other sites will give you like average and stuff, but they do a really good job of doing that. So you're able to really quickly see, like the original screen was, hey, the Angels have 3 walks in 9 out of the last 10 games. Completely makes sense. That's great. And then you can use handy graphs to be like, well, are there enough targets to make this happen for the pitcher, or should I really just lean into like Joe Adele? And where we're beneficial is that we are able to give you the 30 inches view, and that is that 30 plate appearances type of thing. So it's just another thing that I'm really enjoying with Hall of Fame Bets. I know we had E-Bomb on last week while you were out, and we talked about your fees, and he's just like has this whole system in it, and it's been great for him. And I just am consistently, especially now as we're getting into so now is the time after the All-Star break is when like MLB starts getting like a lot more casual bettors, because people are like, I need something to bet for the next month and a half before football comes back. You're probably going to see way worse home run prices for a little bit. You just had literally a marketing event for home runs. And so good things to play are going to be like total bases, batter strikeouts, all sorts of things like that, which Hall of Fame Bets allows you to really kind of key in on in a way. So like total team bases, I love versus and home run markets back. So we could do that too.
Was that show with E-Bomb, Adam? Was that the second best show that you've recorded of Dad's
It was another one where you weren't here. It was the mini-sode. We didn't even so all these things that we replaced. Yeah, dude, this is great. So Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com, code DADS. They are a presenting sponsor of the show. They are awesome. And just, we wanted to kind of use this to show you how we use them. There's a lot of, they also have a parlay optimizer. They have a lot of stuff like that, but when you're looking at some of the stuff that we're putting together, it's sort of where are we seeing them giving us a pretty good edge on markets that nobody else is really hitting, which in turn can be more profitable for you and can help you bet. So cool.
Dad moves.
Dad moves. All right. You got to kick this off.
I got a ton.
Give a Euro edition dad move.
So don't share absinthe with your children. No, that's not my dad move. Reference there for Euro trip for some of the older dads there. But I think I was torn. There's a lot I could have used this week. I think the one I want to use is Cheerios is my dad move. Ooh. So I've got 2 kids, 2 and under, and we've all been there as a dad when you've got young toddler, you're out at a restaurant and you're just searching for some way to keep them busy until the food gets there. And now I'm sure you could jump in and just say, idiot, just get him a tablet. We don't at least use that yet as an option. So if you are trying to do a 0 screen time of way to keep your kids busy, one thing that was indispensable for us on that trip was a bag of Cheerios. And I kid you not, literally I pulled this thing out every time we would sit down and I would just start. It was like an assembly line, just handing this to my kids so that they would have something that they'd feel like they're already eating, except they're not really consuming a lot because Cheerios are like what, half air anyways, as it is. So I would just say, like, if you need to keep your kids busy, you don't want to give them crap to eat, and you want to try and be the parent that doesn't pull the tablet out, bag of Cheerios. It will not fail you going out to restaurants to try and keep them busy.
We've moved to Fruit Loops on that end, and it was a terrible idea. So I would, as you know, a mini dad move is I would not replace boredom with sugar. Before I tell you my dad move, I just want to tell you Todd Zalecki, who is the Phillies beat writer for MLB.com, just put out his newsletter. Do you want to know what the headline is?
Suarez
Series
rumors.
World Series or bust mentality for the Phillies. So just to tie a bow on what we talked about earlier, I think big things are going to happen on this. I think that there's a lot of pressure.
I mean, to be fair, I put that in the same camp as the NFL training camp. He's never been in better shape. Right. Because hasn't that been the Phillies the last four seasons, like World Series, but I mean, definitely was last year too that we saw that.
Well, this year, I mean, Kyle Schwarber is now
they don't have Schwarber, so that is actually yes.
Kyle Schwarber will be never more expensive than he is now. They should just announce, oh, we re-signed him. We're not letting him hit the market. Okay, so my dad move of the week is look, it's honestly post work pool time. So a really good activity, find a pool, find a friend with a pool, get a kiddie pool. But during the summer, right after daycare or the pool or school or camp or whatever they're at, dunk your kids in the pool. They will be very happy. The pool seems to tire them out faster than anything else. It usually just costs you a few freezer pops, which also, by the way, are a better substitution than Cheerios, but we're still working through that. So yeah, we go to a pool, and now we started going at 4:00 during the week. It's great because then it gets kids to go to bed at like 7:30, which is just excellent for everyone involved. And yeah, that's my dad move of the week. Is do a pool.
In general, water is amazing at killing wake windows. Like you can just literally let your kid. You think like bringing your kid to the playground is a good way to kill a wake window? Take them to a pool or put like a water table or something in front of them. That guarantees you don't have to move at all. You literally can just sit there and they will splash, play with water for hours, and it's exponentially more fun to them than
they are. Every child is just so into fluid dynamics. It's wild. And I actually have a bonus dad move. A bonus dad move is if you have a younger child, is to keep a potty in the car. This is for the potty child.
Yep.
We
do this too.
I took Nora and Jake to the park the other day. And Nora is in this mode where she immediately yells when she has to go to the bathroom and make sure everyone knows. And she's like, I have to go potty. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, your potty's not here, and I don't really want to take you into this. I had both of them, so I couldn't like take them both into a porta potty. It wasn't going to work. So I had Jake strapped in the car, and I was like, all right, Nora, I learned this at fish concerts, but I'm going to get you down where you're going to squat in the rocks, and you're going to go. Yeah, well, Nora also just like, talk about fluid dynamics. Stuff went everywhere. Like she had to go. So smash cut. Nora drove home in the back seat with no pants and anything else on because everything was covered. This could have been avoided had I had a potty in the back of my car for her to simply sit in and just do her thing. So
your level of like public shame when you're a parent, especially with young kids, goes completely out the window. Like you just give. Talk about giving zero shits about what anybody literally anybody gives about you. Because does Nora do this thing too? Because Elena does this thing now where they like to announce when you go to the bathroom. And specifically now, like Elena was running around the airport yesterday going, Daddy, you went poop. Yes, Daddy, you went poop in the airport. I'm like, thank you. I want everybody else to know that I defecated in the Ljubljana airport. So it's like you really just, if you don't have thick skin as a parent, I don't know what to tell you. You just have.
They don't have a filter, so why should we? All right. Anyway, so look for producer Spencer, who's at Spencer_Ray, for Slippin' Jimmy, for CJ, Slippin' Jimmy at Dad's That Bet. I'm Adam Rosenberg at Hey Rosenberg. Again, a special thanks to our sponsors, Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com. Use code DADS. Highly recommended because you're going to be able to get a lot of good edges both on WNBA and baseball, which is really, and soccer, which is what you got for the next 6 weeks. And handigraphs.com. Use code, HG DADS, and you get $10 off the rest of the year. Again, all of these together are fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. CJ, what is the final word for this episode?
I'm back, baby. I don't know. I guess that's the final word.